What if the biggest side effect of medicine wasn't drowsiness, dizziness, or nausea, but bankruptcy? Welcome to the United States, where a broken bone can cost more than a used car. An ambulance ride comes with a four-figure bill. And your monthly insulin could set you back more than your rent. Here, medicine doesn't just treat illness. It's a business model. Behind the white lab coats and heartwarming ads lie pharmaceutical giants with billion-dollar bank accounts and lobbyists on speed dial. Pfizer, Eli Lilly, AbbVie, Johnson & Johnson. They don't just sell medicine. They sell survival at a price they get to decide. This isn't about rare ingredients or research costs. This is about power, the power to set prices, dodge regulation. In a country where Medicare isn't allowed to negotiate drug prices, and middlemen quietly rake in billions, the system isn't broken. It's designed this way. So the real question isn't why medicine is expensive in America. The real question is, how far can Big Pharma go before we call it what it really is? A legal drug cartel. This isn't just about healthcare. It's about a handful of companies holding America's health hostage and getting rich while doing it. While Silicon Valley grabs headlines, a far more powerful and dangerous industry operates in the shadows. Big Pharma's empire isn't built on likes or clicks. It's built on life itself. These companies don't just manufacture drugs, they manufacture dependency. At the center stands Pfizer, the modern-day pharaoh of pharmaceuticals. What began as a small Brooklyn lab selling flavored parasite treatments now shapes global health policy. During the darkest days of COVID, Pfizer didn't just supply vaccines, they negotiated from a position of overwhelming power. Investigative reports revealed that in deals with Latin American countries, Pfizer demanded sovereign assets like embassies and military bases as collateral, and imposed strict confidentiality clauses that prevented governments from speaking publicly about the contract terms. This wasn't public health. It was corporate warfare disguised as medicine. Then there's Johnson & Johnson, the wolf in baby shampoo's clothing. Opioid addicts, cancer victims allegedly harmed by their talcum powder, and a legacy of denial. Their $5 billion opioid settlement wasn't an admission of guilt. It was a calculated business expense. The company explicitly stated that the settlement was not an admission of liability or wrongdoing, and it continues to defend against any litigation not resolved by the agreement.
J&J will pay $5 billion as part of the settlement, which also includes McKesson, Cardinal Health, and AmerisourceBergen, according to media reports.
Meanwhile, the quiet collapse of their HIV vaccine program says everything about their priorities. In January 2023, Johnson & Johnson discontinued its Phase 3 Mosaic IV vaccine trial. The crown jewel of monopoly abuse belongs to AbbVie's Humira. This arthritis drug generated over $20 billion annually by filing over 250 patent applications, including one for the injection pen. Patients became prisoners of a drug that, in a competitive market, should have cost significantly less. No story reveals pharma's cruelty like Eli Lilly's insulin practices. As diabetics faced life-threatening situations due to unaffordable medication, Lilly maintained high profit margins on a drug developed over a century ago. While manufacturers' share of insulin revenue has decreased, middlemen now capture about 53% of the net proceeds from insulin sales. Their so-called generous $35 price cap emerged only after intense public and political pressure. While patients suffered, the company continued to profit. Then there's Gilead Sciences, experts at profiting from plagues. Their $84,000 hepatitis C cure was deliberately kept out of reach for poor nations, while Americans mortgaged homes just to afford treatment. When Pre-P, a drug that prevents HIV, was introduced, Gilead priced it at $1,000 per pill, turning public health into private profit. But the real power doesn't just lie in boardrooms. It lies in Washington's shadows. With over $373.7 million spent on lobbying each year, Big Pharma has quietly purchased a Medicare gag order that bans the government from negotiating drug prices. This isn't capitalism. It's not even corporatism. When an industry can decide who lives, who suffers, and who gets left behind, when it can literally put a price tag on human life, we have to ask, what do we call this system? The answer may be Big Pharma's most dangerous side effect yet. In America, medicine isn't priced based on what it costs to make. It's priced based on what you're willing to pay to stay alive. In countries like Canada, the UK, or Germany, governments negotiate drug prices. They set limits. They protect their citizens. But in the US, there are no limits. By law, Medicare, the largest buyer of medicine in the country, is banned from negotiating prices with drug companies. Pfizer, Lilly, AbbVie, they name their price, and the U.S. government quietly pays it. No haggling, no questions, no accountability. And just when you think competition might bring prices down, Big Pharma plays its favorite trick, evergreening. Change the pill's shape, new patent. Add a coating, new patent. Switch it from daily to weekly. That's another 10 years of monopoly. These aren't medical breakthroughs. They're legal disguises, a wall built to block generics and keep prices locked at luxury levels. But the real insult, they tell the public it's because of research and development. The truth, most of these companies spend more on TV ads, lobbyists, and branding than they do on actual science. And while this circus plays out in the pharmaceutical world, hospitals join the game. A single pill can cost $40 in one room, $400 in the next, with no explanation. Patients are billed like mystery shoppers in a casino they never agreed to enter. The system isn't broken. It's designed this way. Because in the U.S., healthcare isn't about healing. It's about who can afford not to die. It's easy to point fingers at Big Pharma, and they deserve the heat. But the truth is, the problem goes far beyond drug companies. The real monster isn't just one corporation. It's an entire ecosystem. In most countries, hospitals are public institutions. They're nonprofit, price-regulated, and operate under the principle that healthcare is a public service, not a product. But in the United States, many hospitals function as corporate enterprises. They have multi-million-dollar CEOs whose pay rivals Wall Street executives. They run marketing teams and branding campaigns like tech startups, and their billing departments, ruthless. Armed with coding specialists, they comb through every second of your stay, every item you touch, from a painkiller to a pair of hospital socks, and turn it into a line item. Need a bandage? That could be $25. Tylenol, $60 per tablet. A single IV bag, charged at $150, even though it costs barely $1 to produce. And the kicker, 2 patients receive treatment in the same hospital can walk away with wildly different bills, depending on their insurance plan, negotiation power, or sheer luck. In a system where healthcare is a marketplace, your illness becomes someone else's opportunity. And the hospital, not a sanctuary of healing, but a profit center in scrubs. Then there are the insurance companies, the silent gatekeepers of American healthcare. They don't wear white coats. They don't prescribe medicine, but they control everything, from what drugs you can afford to whether your hospital stay will leave you bankrupt. Need a life-saving drug? Better hope it's on their formulary list, and even then, you might have to fail cheaper medications first, even if they won't work. Need a surgery? Brace yourself for a paperwork war, pre-approvals, denials, co-pays, deductibles, and surprise bills, all while you're still in pain. And here's the part nobody warns you about. Even with insurance, you're not protected. In fact, you might still end up in debt, because that's part of the game. 41% of U.S. adults carry healthcare debt. 49% of cancer patients and survivors have medical debt, even though 98% were insured. But it gets darker. Some of the biggest insurance companies in America, like United Health Group, Anthem, Cigna, Aetna, and Humana, have deep, undisclosed partnerships with hospital systems. They negotiate behind closed doors. They write the fine print in tiny fonts, knowing full well that stressed, desperate patients won't read the exclusions. They offer affordable premiums that explode the moment you actually need care. And once you sign up, you're locked in. Your options vanish. Your doctor may be out of network. Your bills multiply. It's not healthcare. It's a trap with paperwork. But the real masterminds behind the curtain, they're not doctors. They're not pharmacists. They're not even insurance executives. They're the pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs. These are the shadowy middlemen you've probably never heard of. They don't manufacture drugs. They don't treat patients. But somehow, they control nearly every decision about your prescriptions. They're supposed to be negotiators, middlemen who bargain with drug companies to lower costs for insurers and patients. But here's the dirty truth. They play both sides of the table. On one hand, they cut deals with Big Pharma, demanding rebates in exchange for putting their drug on the preferred list. On the other, they work with insurance companies to determine how much you'll actually pay at the pharmacy counter. And in the middle, they pocket the difference through a system called spread pricing. That means if a generic drug costs $10, the PBM may charge your insurance $100 and keep the $90 as profit. They collect billions in these markups, hidden under confusing names like rebates, discounts, and administrative fees. But don't be fooled, that's your money, taken silently as you try to stay alive. And here's the kicker. The three largest PBMs, CVS Caremark, Express Scripts, and OptumRx, control nearly 80% of the U.S. market. They decide what drugs are available, which ones get delayed, and which ones are simply too expensive to approve. Even generic drugs, once seen as the cheap alternative, aren't safe anymore. No one really knows what anything costs. And that's exactly how they want it, because the more confusing it is, the less power you have. Mark Cuban, billionaire entrepreneur, Shark Tank investor, and now, accidental healthcare revolutionary. In 2022, he launched Cost Plus Drugs, an online pharmacy with a radical idea. Sell medicine at cost at a 15% flat markup and show every price, no games, no middlemen. Suddenly, life-saving drugs like imatinib, a leukemia medication that normally costs over $10,000 a month, were available for a few $100s. And Mark Cuban isn't alone. Nonprofit manufacturers like Civica RX, pricing apps like GoodRx, and even Amazon Pharmacy have entered the space. As of April 2025, the Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drug Company has not publicly disclosed specific market share percentages within the U.S. pharmaceutical sector. Extensive medication portfolio. MCCCPDC offers over 2,500 medications, including generic and some brand-name drugs, reflecting rapid expansion since its inception. The company has established collaborations with major health systems, such as community health systems, and insurers like Blue Shield of California. MCCPDC has invested in its own manufacturing facility in Dallas, enabling the production of generic medications and addressing drug shortages. Traditional pharmacy giants like CVS and Express Scripts have begun adopting similar transparent pricing models, indicating MCCPDC's impact on industry standards. While precise market share data is unavailable, these developments suggest that MCCPDC is emerging as a disruptive force in the pharmaceutical sector. A nation that invented the most miraculous medicines on Earth now gatekeeps them with price tags few can afford. We don't just have a drug problem. We have a system problem, from the drug manufacturers who sell survival, to the hospitals that bill you for breathing, to the insurers who make you fight for care you've already paid for, to the PBMs who profit in silence. This is not a healthcare system. It's an industrial machine built on confusion, because in America, getting sick is expensive. But trying to get better, that's what bankrupts you. And in the end, the most dangerous side effect of American medicine isn't what's listed on the label. It's the system itself.